Okay, imagine this. A street gang,
Hey,
but with maybe 30, 50,000 members worldwide.
it's a staggering number.
Yeah, the 18th Street Gang. That's
Yes.
bigger than a lot of actual armies.
It really is. Puts things in perspective.
So today we're diving into the sources you shared, articles, reports, all sorts of stuff, all about this sprawling organization.
Very interesting collection, yeah.
You wanted to figure out how a gang from LA, just a street gang, could blow up into this major international force.
And that's what we're aiming for, to unpack that journey.
Exactly. We'll hit the key things: origins, how they spread, what they do, what makes them tick, without, getting totally bogged down. Consider it the express lane to understanding them.
That scale you mentioned right at the start, the 30 to 50,000, it tells you straight away this isn't just some local crew.
No way.
That implies a long history, a complex one, and some kind of really effective way of growing, even if it is, criminal growth.
Right. So let's start where it all began. Los Angeles, 1960s, Rampart District specifically. Seems like a definite starting point.
It is, and the sources, they're pretty clear on why it started. Basically, exclusion.
Exclusion.
Yeah, the idea at first wasn't even to make a whole new gang. It was more about creating a branch within an existing Hispanic gang, Clanton 14.
Okay, Clanton 14. And the issue was?
The issue was Clan 14 was pretty strict. They mostly only let in members of Mexican descent, often second-generation Mexican Americans.
Oh, okay. So the guys who started 18th Street, they weren't all Mexican-American? Or they wanted to include others?
Exactly. They actually proposed creating a sort of subgroup within Clanton 14, called it Clanton 18th Street. The whole point was to let in people from other backgrounds, too.
But Clanton 14 leadership said no.
Rejected it, flat out. And that rejection, that was kind of the spark. It pushed them to just go off and form 18th Street as its own thing.
And that caused bad blood right away, I assume.
Oh, immediately. The sources you sent mention an instant and pretty lasting rivalry between 18th Street and Clanton 14. It wasn't amicable.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting for me, that decision right from the jump to be multi-ethnic. That feels important, maybe more important than people realize.
I think it was absolutely crucial. By opening the doors to different nationalities, different races, they suddenly had a much bigger recruitment pool.
Makes sense.
And the material shows, as they clashed more with those established Hispanic gangs, being multi-ethnic became this strategic edge. They were one of the first real multiracial gangs in LA.
And they didn't just stay small. I saw something about maybe 200 separate crews operating under the 18th Street name just in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, 200 separate autonomous gangs. That's wild, right? It shows how decentralized they were, even early on.
So not like one big hierarchy controlling everything.
Not really, no. It seems the 18th Street name became almost like a brand. Different groups could use it, share some basic ideas maybe, but run their own show.
And that definitely helped them spread like wildfire across Southern California.
Oh, completely. All over LA, County South LA, Hollywood, downtown Northeast LA, Pico Union, Westlake, Koreatown, Inglewood, Southgate, Huntington Park. I mean, the list goes on. Maywood, Bellflower, Long Beach.
Orange County, San Bernardino,
Yeah.
even the West Side. They were everywhere.
Which, inevitably gets you noticed by the feds.
Right, leading to those big FBI raids, early 2000s, hundreds of arrests. You'd think that would cripple them.
It definitely caused problems, no doubt. But ironically, it also kind of helped fuel their next big expansion.
ISO.
Internationalization, because a key, maybe unintended consequence of those raids and arrests was the deportation of members back to Central America.
Ah, okay. So guys arrested in the U.S., members of 18th Street get deported to El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala.
Exactly. And they
Yeah.
didn't just go back quietly. They took the gang identity, the structure, the criminal know-how with them. They basically set up shop back home.
And found fertile ground, it seems.
Very fertile. In countries often dealing with instability, poverty, 18th Street established itself fast and, as your sources point out, became one of the most violent gangs in Central America.
Which also put them head-to-head with another major player down there.
MS-13, absolutely. That rivalry became, and still is, a defining feature of the crime landscape in the Northern Triangle.
The material mentioned the U.S. Department of Justice linking these two gangs directly to why that region has one of the highest homicide rates in the world.
It's a brutal reality. Their competition for dominance fuels incredible levels of violence.
And the makeup of the gang in Central America, still pretty diverse.
Yeah, mirrored the LA origins, mostly. Lots
Yeah.
of Mexican, Salvadoran, Honduran, Guatemalan members. But, pulling from other Central American countries, too, we're even seeing signs of influence now in Belize.
Okay, here's another twist, though. Around 2005, in El Salvador, the gang actually split.
That's right, into two main factions, the Revolucionarios, the Revolutionaries, and the Serreños, the Southerners.
And they immediately started fighting each other.
Yep.
Became intense rivals themselves. It really highlights how, despite the shared name, internal power struggles and local issues can cause these massive fractures, a sort of civil war within the gang.
So it's not monolithic at all.
Far from it. Especially now, with its global reach.
And that reach is just, wow. The sources list Australia, Canada, England, France, Germany, Lebanon, Peru, Mexico, obviously Central America, Venezuela, even the Philippines.
It's truly international.
Yeah.
Plus, activity spotted in, 44 cities across 20 U.S. states?
Yeah. It shows how migration, globalization, these things can spread gang culture just like anything else.
Members move, they take the connections, the brand with them, and set up new cells.
Okay, so with this massive, spread out network, how does it even work?
Yeah.
Is there an overall boss? The sources seem to suggest it's messy.
Messy is a good word. Yeah, the sheer size and geographic spread make a single, rigid structure pretty much impossible. It definitely varies by location.
But there are some common terms, structures. I saw palabreros. Right, palabreros. Literally word speakers, leaders. And interestingly, a lot of them run things from prison.
From inside.
Yeah. They coordinate crime on the outside. They call it en la libre, in freedom from behind bars. They also rely heavily on civilian collaborators, people who aren't official members but help move drugs, weapons, information, that kind of thing.
Okay. Then there was another structure mentioned. Toros, bulls, at the top. Then chicas, run by homies, and soldados, soldiers, at the bottom.
Yeah, that represents a more, let's say, defined hierarchy that you see in some places. But even then, the sources emphasize these territorial divisions called canchas, and overall, it tends to be pretty horizontal, decentralized.
So the local cliques, the chicas, have a lot of freedom.
A significant amount of autonomy, yes. It's generally seen as less organized, less centrally controlled than maybe some other big gangs today. Think of it less like a strict corporation, more like a franchise system.
Okay, they all use the 18th Street brand, but the local managers run their own shops.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. The clique of leaders have a lot of say over their local turf and operations.
The sources also touched on women in the gang.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't sound good.
No, it paints a pretty grim picture. The ways women typically gain membership, it's brutal.
Like the 18-second beating, or...
Worse, yeah, or being forced into sexual acts with multiple members, or sometimes just by being the partner of a male member. It shows a really patriarchal, often abusive internal culture.
And even once they're in.
Often treated poorly, expected to do the violent stuff, the traditionally male roles, but also expected to do caregiving, supporting the male members. A tough position.
Shifting gears slightly to, their culture. Identifiers. Strict rules, harsh punishment that seems standard for gangs, right?
Oh, absolutely. Loyalty is paramount. The 18-second beating for breaking rules, or even execution for serious stuff like betrayal, it enforces discipline.
Although the FBI apparently notes some factions are getting more sophisticated, more organized.
Yeah, that's an interesting point in the materials. It suggests there's still evolution happening. Some groups might be tightening up their internal structures, becoming more businesslike, in a criminal sense.
And how do they show their 18th Street? Lots of ways, it seems.
Definitely. The number 18, obviously, on clothes. Specific sports team gear is a big one.
Yeah, LA teams mostly Clippers, Rams, Dodgers, Lakers, Kings, but also the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right. It lets them fly the flag, so to speak, but maybe a bit more subtly than just plastering 18 everywhere.
Then there's the graffiti, the tattoos, XV3, X8, even 666 and 99. And the 3 dots.
Yeah, 6666 and 99 sometimes appear. The 3 dots, Mi Vida Loca, My Crazy Life, that's a classic. And the colors are key, too.
Blue and black, right? Blue 4.
Blue is a nod to the Mexican Mafia, the Serrano Alliance. Black was apparently their original color. These symbols are all about recognition, internally and for rivals.
And that nickname, the Children's Army.
Yeah, that's because they notoriously recruit really young. Elementary school, middle school sometimes. It's disturbing. A key part of their sustainment strategy, though.
And in El Salvador, those huge 18 tattoos right on the face are common.
Very common. A very visible, very permanent commitment. Kind of a point of no return for many.
Makes you shudder. And the sources even mention an official theme song, Pete Wingfield's 18 with a Bullet.
Yeah. Seems a bit on the nose, doesn't it? But it definitely adds to their whole dark mystique, their self-image.
Okay, let's talk about the actual crime. What are they doing? The main moneymaker seems to be drugs.
Unsurprisingly, yeah. Street-level drug distribution is huge for them, mostly cocaine and marijuana, according to the sources. Heroin and meth to a lesser extent, but still there.
That's the engine, you said.
It fuels a lot of their activity, but it's far from the only thing. The list you pulled together is extensive.
Auto theft, carjacking, drive-bys, extortion, ID fraud, robbery, assault, homicide. It covers a lot of ground.
A very broad portfolio of crime. That ATF special agent, George Rodriguez, called them one of the most violent street gangs and one of the most prolific in the United States.
And the details seem to back that up. Routine car thefts, burglaries, daily assaults or robberies in LA County alone.
It paints a picture of constant, pervasive criminality, and that's before you get to the really serious stuff they're implicated in: murder, arson, even things like copyright infringement, human trafficking, illegal immigration, kidnapping, prostitution, weapons trafficking.
It's not just petty crime.
Not at all. It shows how diverse their illegal enterprises are.
That kidnapping and murder of the Honduran soccer player Wilson Palacios' brother, that was them, wasn't it?
Yes. A really high-profile, tragic case. Shows their reach and the level of brutality they're capable of, hitting headlines internationally.
And some other specific examples stood out. Caterino Gonzalez getting life for killing Officer Filbert Cuesta back in '98.
A stark reminder of the danger to law enforcement.
Arrests up in Kingston, New York for abduction and murder, leading to federal racketeering charges.
Shows their geographic spread within the U.S. and the seriousness of the charges they face.
And that MS-13 rivalry playing out violently, like a fatal shooting of an 18th Street guy by MS-13 on a Queens subway platform in 2019.
Yeah, those conflicts spilling out into public spaces, extremely dangerous.
Plus those killings of bus drivers in Guatemala City, that seemed particularly vicious, all over extortion payments.
Exactly, refusing to pay the protection money demanded by the gang. The source mentioned one case where they specifically targeted and killed a bus owner's son on Route 4 because his father wouldn't pay.
Just brutal control, using violence to dominate essential services like public transport.
It shows how deeply they can embed themselves in a local economy through fear and intimidation. The consequences for defiance are often lethal.
On a different note, there was a mention of a documentary, La Vida Loca, by Christian Poveda in 2008.
Right. Documentaries like that, while often disturbing, can offer really valuable ground-level insights into gang life. The reality, the human cost, its important context.
Good point. Okay, nearly there. Alliances and rivals. Allies seem straightforward. The Mexican Mafia, other Sureño gangs.
Makes sense, given their Southern California roots. Being Sureño gives them protection and influence, especially in the prison system, and connects them to a wider network with shared rules.
And rivals. It's a long list.
It is. MS-13, obviously. Clinton 14, right back where they started. Playboys, Santa Monica 13, Temple Street, Vineland Boys, Florencia 13. Even conflicts with non-Hispanic groups like the Bloods and Black Peace Stones in the jungles.
That's a lot of enemies.
It really speaks to the volatile nature of gang politics. Constant competition for turf, resources, respect, which fuels so much of the violence.
So wrapping this up.
Yeah.
It's clear this isn't just, a simple gang story. It's tangled up with huge forces, immigration, feeling shut out, global crime networks.
Definitely. The journey from that initial act of defiance in LA to this massive global criminal entity. It's shaped by all those social dynamics and then amplified by globalization.
So, as you can see from the sources, it's a complex picture. A story about social exclusion meeting international crime, really.
Exactly. Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on. Considering that decentralized structure, that global footprint,
Yeah.
what are the most effective ways to actually tackle the challenges the 18th Street Gang poses?
Yeah, good question.
Thinking about it on both the local level and the international one, it probably needs a mix of things. Law enforcement, sure, but also social programs, economic opportunities, better international cooperation. It's not a simple fix, given all the deep-rooted factors involved.